Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wigan Fan TV. Myself and Matt this evening, and we'll be joined, as always, late by the Wigan Runner. It's just to build the suspense while everybody's waiting for him. Matt, welcome back. You were away last week, enjoying half term so far?
It is lovely, yes. It's a whole week without school. So somebody thought of that. What a genius!
Absolutely, and they have a few of them, I've heard, as well during the year, which is to be celebrated.
I think most people would agree nowhere near enough.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. I'm with you. Okay, so lots to get through as always. We've got the Toronto game to look at. We've got the Hull game to look at. We've got Sean O'Loughlin's eye to look at. We've got the new what seems to have happened when Toronto visited the DW last week is they seem to have snuck into like the boardroom somewhere and found our special salary cap calculator, which has allowed them, when they've inputted everything, to sign Tony Gigot as an amateur, which I think comes from the same calculator used when Chris Radlinski and his wife were employed by the club as cleaners, was it? Something. There's a history of that, so they've managed to dig out and dust that calculator. So we might have a chat about that.
I would take issue with you on that.
Okay, go on.
Point. You're referring to when Radlinski came back from the dead,
yes,
and helped
for the
us
second
out of
time.
relegation. They just didn't pay him. They genuinely didn't pay him. He'd already been paid through his insurance, so they didn't have to pay him.
And you genuinely do know better than me because of your dad's connections with the club at the time. So I'm taking what you've just said as utter rubbish, because that has been, the fact that you believe that is more concerning, to be honest with you, Matt. But yeah, it's quite an interesting development. I thought Toronto would just go down the lines of, we're breaking the salary cap, deduct us 2 points, and we'll make it back up. Like why don't they just be bold and brash about it and just say this is what we're doing, rather, because like they're not Tony Gigot isn't going to play for free. Like, there's money coming from somewhere. It's just like, why do we? It's just bizarre. Really is bizarre. And then when
I think 3 games ago they would have been bold and brash about it, but they've got no points and they need to stay up.
But there was an interesting post, I think, and I'm stealing somebody's thunder here from Twitter if it comes through, is when you look at Catalans coming into the league and the fact that, was it 3 years without relegation they got? And that's the club in France. You know, rugby isn't new in France. It's certainly, rugby league is newer in Canada, and we're not supporting them in regards to the signings. For me, it doesn't feel fair. But if you saw any of the show last week, the feelings towards Toronto are very much divided, Matt, and I didn't think they were.
I can't say I'm particularly amazed.
But anyway, there we go. That's we might.
We love Toronto.
You say that again?
I said we love Toronto.
Yeah, I love Toronto, particularly because they gave us 2 points last week. In what was, how did you feel the game went last week, Matt? I was nervous before the game, nervous during the game, and relaxed at about 76 minutes gone. But on reflection, it's one of those games where, because it was so long ago, it was last Thursday, so long ago, and we don't play again until Sunday, that it actually feels like it was a good win. But I think that's just time. I don't know. How did you see the game?
I think the last 20 minutes was a good win. The first half, I was pretty nervous, if I'm honest. But what I did notice was that during the game, more and more, our key players started to gel. And Hastings started to show his true colours. French as well. O'Loughlin, aye. It all started to work as the game went on. And I think that is going to be the issue with Wigan. These are players that just need game time together. Toronto, on the other hand, I reckon they'll avoid relegation, but I don't think they'll trouble the top 4.
Well, one interesting thing that I saw this week, we were just talking off air, Matt, about that I was down at Robin Park again this week, and I'll touch on the fan engagement stuff later on. But what they've done in the in the Sean O'Loughlin suite, which is a video room now, is they've put this wall, one of the main walls, is basically just got this image plastered on it, which is basically Wigan's aims for this year. And if you remember last year, Adrian Lamb had this big sort of obsession almost about climbing Everest and achieving different base camp points and tags in different parts in the season. It looks like they've done that again this year, and I think there's 4 key base camps that they're targeting at various points in the season. I can't remember when they were, but the one thing that sticks in my mind is the first 6 games on the wall, and it was all about it. It seemed to infer that the wording above it was setting the tone. So obviously Wigan are trying to set whatever tone it is that they're trying to do in 2020 in those first 6 games, which I think is quite interesting for for us as fans after 3 games. I wrote Tony Clubb off last week. I ended his career in terms of a Wigan player, and I might do it again later on. But like Wigan seem to be viewing.
It's the first time.
Yeah. But it seems to be that we're going to very much viewing that first 6 weeks as judges. After that, this is how we'll get to that. That I guess then leads into sort of the Easter period. But I just thought it was quite interesting. It's in such a public place. Well, not a public place, but a lot of people can see it as well. So it'd be interesting to see what they do with that over time. Who stood out for you? We've got Bevan French, we've got Jackson Hastings, Liam Farrell. I think they're definitely the 3 standout players. Bullock and Clark on debut. Bullock returning from injury. How did they go for you?
No complaints really. I thought Clark looked pretty solid, but most importantly, he looked like a player that's got improvement in him.
Yeah.
And actually, same for Bullock too. I thought this is the start of another journey for Bullock.
Absolutely. I think it was crucial that period that we brought them on, and I think we brought them on pretty much at the same time, if not together. And they're very much both impact players, aren't they? And that seemed to have a bit of an effect of our momentum going forward. Having to bring into that is this conversation about Tony Clubb. What are your thoughts on Tony Clubb? Because I feel like I'm going to go in hard on him every week until we get an old Tony Clubb performance. But somebody... You know Andy Collier very well, as we know. Can he replicate sort of a Tony Clubb? Can Tony Clubb change his style of play to become that elder statesman in the team that Tony Clubb was for us? That Andy Collier was for us, as Matthew Milling starts to join us.
I think it's a mistake to write Tony Clubb off when his leg is wrapped up like it is with like 3 duvets around it at the moment. I think we'll see more of it, and I think we'll see better of him.
Matthew, can you hear us? Yeah, we can't see you. If you want to turn your camera on, it's that thing that looks like it. Don't be shy. Come and join us. It's just me and Matt. There he is. Good evening, Matthew. You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you for asking. What number run have you been up to this evening? Then, give us a reason why you're late.
Well, yeah, it was actually 1,145, but it's not officially yet because I only managed to run 3K. So once we've talked to each other, I'm going to run another 5K. Well, I'm going to run 5K on top of the 3K that I've done because I do 5K a day. So a bit of an odd one tonight.
So, I mean, why don't you just keep that to yourself and just actually say that you've run that far? Like nobody's gonna know, Matthew. Stop being so honest.
I've been cheating myself. So I'm going to do it. I'm just using my laptop in the background. I'm sharing the video on my page as well tonight.
Okay.
I'll tell you that. So, yeah, what's I missed?
Wonderful. Well, we're just talking about Tony Clubb at this moment in time, Matthew. So you join in as and when you please. The Toronto game. Who stood out for you, Matthew, in terms of performance-wise?
French was good, wasn't it? He just played in the sense. It was a good atmosphere last week. I enjoyed it. I think Zach Hardaker as well. He's looking like a leader to me, Zach Hardaker right there. And I was thinking to myself when I was watching, and obviously Sean had that injury to the eye, didn't he? I don't know how serious that is. I know that he's been sidelined for a while, isn't he? But I was thinking to myself, when he retires, who on that field would I see as being the next captain for us now? And I was thinking about us having this conversation right now, like who you guys would say as well. So I was thinking, obviously, Farrell's too old really to the next captain, and I'm thinking, is Powell Is he going to be a good captain?
Well,
I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think, I don't know whether we've had this, but for me, I think Liam Farrell would be the captain in the next few years anyway, probably from next year. I mean, he's just turned 30, has he? 29, 30. He's not as old as he perhaps he looks. But I think Liam Farrell for the next 3-4 years or whatever that might be, and then I think what Wigan have managed to do over the past couple of years is incorporate that leadership group back into the club again. So Sam Powell is now part of that leadership team, I think. So he would definitely be one of them who would be there for consideration. Morgan Smithies, I think. If you want, Sean O'Loughlin was very young when he was made captain. Andy Farrell was very young when he was made captain. So Morgan Smithies, by all means, after a few years of Liam Farrell, could be the club captain. Matt, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see Farrell as the natural progression. Obviously now Navarrette's not around this season.
David has just put Navarrette for captain. I've just put that on the screen for you.
But yeah, I quite agree with you there. And we all love Sam Powell.
Absolutely. So there's a few shouts for is Sam Powell not our unsung hero, consistent and a leader? There's a shout for Gildart as the next captain if he stays, which would be seems strange, like a centre as captain, but yeah, why not? I don't know why position really makes too much difference. We've got a shout for Hastings for captain. That's if he stays with us longer than a year. Hardacre for captain. Wow, that would be interesting. So we've got a few. Sam Powell again for captain on there. So there's a few shouts. Matthew, who do you think other than perhaps Liam Farrell in the short term?
I just it's got to be like one of the representatives as well, but I'm biased there, aren't I think Powell. Do you think Powell is he just seems like a decent, consistent hard worker, doesn't he? Like, he's always giving 100% when he's out there. He's never criticised for not giving effort. So I think he's at an age, what is he now, 23-ish, 24?
Who?
I think. Powell?
No, Sam Powell's got to be older than that, hasn't he? He's been around for ages. Yeah, he must be 26. Easy. Let's Google it while you're talking.
Well, he's been around long enough now. I've got to Google that.
27, born in 1992, the 3rd of July, 1992. Wow. Probably in Billinge.
Wow. Right, yeah. So yes, when he's that age, then he's definitely old enough and been around long enough, hasn't he?
Yeah.
To be a captain. So yeah, I think him. I almost think, 27. There you go. I think even though I like Farrell, I just feel like, is it a good direction to have a new captain who's going to be in his 30s starting, because he's not going to be around that long. And I almost kind of think of him as the same era as Sean. Just almost like give it to someone who's in the next generation.
We've got Tom joining us. Hello.
I can't check at the moment. I'll do me best, okay?
Are you needed? Matt? Are you needed, Matt? If you needed elsewhere, this really isn't important. We're just deciding on the next captain of Wigan. Nothing important, Matt. Come on.
Yeah, don't worry about us.
Do apologise.
Absolutely. So you've mentioned Sean O'Loughlin. We were sort of talking about the Toronto game, so it leads us quite nicely onto Sean O'Loughlin's injury. You asked a question about O'Loughlin's eye. It's rumoured between 1 and 4 weeks. When I was at Robin Park on Monday, there was it was basically, somebody said, I think that he had to return to hospital. He wasn't driving. He had a bleed behind his eye. So he had to return to hospital after the game, after he'd come out, and then had to go back in. So I think you're looking at the best part of a few weeks on that. It's not going to be something that's rushed back. And I think if we remember a few years ago when Chris Hankinson did fracture his eye socket or something, and that was him for the rest of the season, as Matt slowly disappears with his clearly giving his debit card or something. They're going to buy all sorts on that card, Matt. Absolutely all sorts. Gary asks, Matt, is your tea ready? Is that what the note's for?
Sorry, what's that? What?
Is your tea ready? Is that what the note's for?
Trap the nose form.
Is your tea ready? Is that what the note that was being passed along was for?
No, that's Microsoft support verification code.
Okay.
Okay.
Makes
In that
sense.
case, serious, yeah.
Sounds expensive. Sounds expensive. That's going to cost you a fortune. So yeah, in terms of Sean O'Loughlin, I mean, Sean O'Loughlin, his 400th Super League game for me. I mean, he's got that many milestones at the moment. I'm sure he hit 400 games last year against Warrington and he got a golden numbers. But he had 500 last week, 400 this week. I think we're just making them up just for the sake of it. But the fact that he was 2 yards from the line and he got a flick to the eye is probably the cruelest blow you could imagine, particularly considering how many tries he scores, in the latter part of his career as well. So
that's the theme, isn't there, of Wigan players not allowed to score. Just as they're going over the line, someone decapitates them. That seems to be the theme this year.
Absolutely, and there's a question: why was that not a penalty try as well? Rather than getting in that, people say that Chris Angerson tore his retina. Ugh, man, I hate eyes, so even just talking about that is okay. So let's move on to something before we move on to the whole game and who we think will replace Sean O'Loughlin in the team. What that looks for Harry Smith. We've not spoken about Harry Smith. Harry Smith scored a try. Looked pretty solid. Let's give him a little bit of attention. Matt, your thoughts on Harry Smith? Somebody literally thrown in at the jungle, kept his place last week, and linked up quite nicely with Hastings.
I love that phrase, thrown in at the jungle.
Literally, yeah.
Never is there a better phrase to use for playing at Castleford. That wasn't his first appearance for the team, though, was it? He
made his debut last year when we were there, Matt, doing whatever on earth we were doing, and he scored that try.
Yeah, he's obviously. I mean, we've been waiting for him, haven't we? We've been aware of him. He's on the radar. We've been waiting for him to come through, and he's going to be great. His kicking game, though, those kicks, wow!
He already is great, isn't he? The fact that we've got that sort of kicking ability. Matthew, your thoughts on another youngster coming through the ranks and looking like he's just ready to play first team straight away?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's always exciting, isn't it? Seeing him coming through. It can only be a good thing, but thrown in at the jungle. When they're not televised as well, I think that's the best way for them to
don't start with this televised stuff again.
Well, you know what I'm like with that. But yeah, and I just want to point out as well, if you guys hadn't put me under pressure to say that I thought we was going to win that game, I think I would have got the scoreline almost exactly right as well in that game. Do you remember?
Yeah, because if I would have put a lottery ticket on last week, I might have won. Come on, Matthew.
No, don't let me say because I was into you getting banned.
Okay, we'll let you have that one. Okay, let's discuss.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Matthew. Let's discuss the.
Where is he? Where's the main man?
I don't know. He's watching. I've seen a comment from him, but he was going on about how Toronto should be kicked out of the league or something. So I blocked him for a bit. He's serving a suspension for that. Fan zone. We spoke a little bit about the fan zone last week. We had a little bit of the fan engagement board, which is a thing that was set up 2 years ago, which is still there strangely, and that's why I was at Robin Park. We're kind of pressing the reset button on that as to what that means and what fans want us to do, what the club wants us to do. We'll stay away from that for a second, but there was a lot of talk about the fan zone. In terms of figures, it was I think it's the Toronto game, which was incredible in terms of numbers. That there's 500 people in the fan zone before the game, 250 people in the fan zone after the game, and that's a Thursday night with no away fans. So you can see that the appetite is there. I think I said last week that we would have there would be reduced prices on the bar, and I don't think they materialised last week, but they've reduced it this week. It's on the website now. It's official, so it's on the website now. It is expensive. Mel says that it's still expensive, but I think when we put that to the club on Monday night, I think the reasoning from the club is you kind of. It's included in your match ticket as part of the experience to get there. Obviously, the pricing for the bar is kind of out of their hands a little bit at the moment. in terms of that, because it is an external company that's coming in to do the bar, but it's something that they're looking at. And by the time the sort of the summer version of the fan zone comes around, then it'll be developed and grow into whatever it was. But I think those figures initially are probably worth just sharing. That 500 people attending the fan zone before a game on a Thursday night against Toronto is a pretty good start for something that's already very much in its infancy. Matthew, you were talking last week about the fan zone. Are you surprised to hear that number of people there?
Funny, if you didn't tell me that figure before and to guess, I'd have probably said a couple of hundred. So I think 500 is a really good thing, and it's also still in the stage of, I don't think everyone actually knows about it being there, unless if the friend tells them that they went there and then they say, well, let's go there instead of across the road or the Red Robin or somewhere else beforehand. So I think that number should grow, but I'm all for the prices being cheaper.
Absolutely, Mel.
Always.
There's a comment here about the price of drinks that Mel says it cost my daughter £9 for a drink. Mel, I don't think it did. I think your daughter's just swindled you. I think it cost her about £3 and she's kept the rest of the change. So you might want to go and have a word from her. Yeah, what did she order for £9? And then Josie says a gym bar is class. So you got Sean O'Loughlin's gym bar in the back of a horse box in there as well. There's something that we can't really share on air yet, but it's worth noting that keep an eye on the developments at the fan zone over the next few weeks, because it will be named something, and it will be named after, I think I can share that it'll be named after an ex-player, which is brilliant, but I can't say anything just yet, but keep your eye on that because it's bloody brilliant. Okay.
Competition, see who can guess.
Yeah, see who can guess. But I know, because if somebody puts the right answer in there and I share it, I won't be able to keep a straight face. But it is brilliant, and that's come from Ian Lenigan, who's picked it's going to be named after a particular player, and that should be later on in the season. I think potentially around about the Leeds game that will be announced. So keep your eyes on that.
With the cheaper drinks.
Yeah, let's not. Okay, so the best one so far is Daniel's suggestion of the Navarrete zone. That could work for the Wakefield game. We could just rename it that for the Wakefield game.
That sounds like an erogenous zone, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I'm going to share some of the suggestions on the screen as we carry on. But yeah, that's keep an eye on that. Right, looking ahead to the Hull game. Matthew, Hull at home on a Sunday. First of all, your thoughts on, we've got 3 Sunday games back to back, one away in between that as well, but the return of Sunday games, Are you a fan of that?
Yeah, well, I remember this fixture last year. Should be going with a good friend of mine from Hull. I wanted to take the game on Sunday, and I remember, obviously this is the second season now with the golden point, isn't it, when it's full time, and I remember last year when we had that, and players seemed a bit unsure of the rules, because we was the first game to have it as well, I believe, and it was good to see. Well, it was funny seeing how everyone reacted to it. I know Hull won through that in the end, but I'm definitely in favour of that new rule. So it's going to be good. You know what I'm like with the cameras, so it'll be a different atmosphere without the cameras, but it'll be fun. You know, Sunday, it's my birthday as well. So it'll be good to see.
Happy 40th, Matthew. You snuck that in.
Don't look a day younger, do
I? Matt, yourself, somebody that has to travel, return of Sunday games sound great, but your thoughts on that?
Great from one point of view, in that I can get to them. I can pick myself, take them to the game, drive back. Bad from the other point of view, in that I can't get absolutely hammered. So it's taken away the alcohol part of the enjoyment of the match experience for me. But I'm looking forward to it, because, what would you rather be doing on a Sunday afternoon?
Well, yeah, absolutely. It just, I think we'll talk about the game in just a second, but my views on the game have switched a little bit now after the Toronto victory and Hull losing against Saints, and Hull picking up a little bit, some injuries as well, and the fact that Albert Kelly, serving a 2-match suspension, and in his 3rd game suspended against Wigan, can't play because of...
Albert Kelly, this suspension business.
It's brilliant.
It was a dangerous throw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, was it that strop he threw in McDonald's that time?
Apparently they've just caught up with him now. They've just identified that it was definitely him. Because wasn't there something strange where after that Hull KR signed a sponsorship deal with McDonald's for the socks or something, or they were sponsors of the socks. Like it's brilliant. Some of these suggestions for the bar are absolutely brilliant, but my favourite so far is around about the Billy McGinty pineapple cocktails. Which if they don't start selling them with pineapple rings, it's a travesty if they don't appear in the fan zone pretty soon. But we'll talk about potentially Hull's injuries and where their season is. But Matt, we've got Sean O'Loughlin out. You've got George Burgess potentially in contention. You've got Sam Powell to come back in. Who drops out? Who comes in for you, if anybody at all? Bearing in mind that we do need to obviously replace O'Loughlin in that team.
We need to replace O'Loughlin, but just with another powerful forward, because Hull have got a big pack. They're massive, aren't they? And yeah, they've got their injuries, and I know they've spoken a bit about injuries in Hull, haven't they?
I've heard it a couple of times this week, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. My thinking is surely they must have some overseas quota spots left that they can use to cover those injuries. Surely.
Well, they do get extra because they're a port. Do you not know the rules?
Yeah.
It's all part of Brexit.
So yeah. So visa's not an issue then. So, yeah, I reckon we just bring in the next prop. As simple as that.
So, would you bring in, if George Burgess is fit? Is it a simple swap of Burgess in, O'Loughlin out, Powell in, Burrows out?
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me if Powell comes in, then maybe Smith drops out for this one. If Powell's not ready yet, then Byrne. I'm not worrying about it.
Okay, Matthew, your thoughts? The fact that we need to replace obviously Sean O'Loughlin in the team. Some calls for Jack Wells to come in here. Havard was dropped last week, as was Liam Byrne. So you've got two options there. Who would you bring in for Sean O'Loughlin?
Oh, now you're asking me. I think at the same time as Sean being off, it's a good chance for us to try and rotate things and potentially see who leads as a captain out there as well. So, who would I pick in his place? I'm not sure. I'm a bit out of my depth here. I'll just go with what Matt said with that one. Yeah, I just agree with what Matt said.
Well, I mean, at least somebody does, Matthew, so thank you for that. I mean, Matt, for what it's worth, I think my vendetta against Tony Clubb continues. And I would like to see Sean O'Loughlin obviously drop out. George Burgess, if he's fit, come in at 13 and start at 13, which gives us a little bit of a different dimension to that. He's not a ball playing 13; he's just going to be an extra prop in there. Smithies then can continue on the bench and interchange for George Burgess. I'd like to see Sam Powell come back in for Burrows. Amir Burrow and Harry Smith back to the bench and have that sort of interchange, however the switcheroo within that, whatever that looks like. And then for me it's Byrne or Havard back in for Clubb, and we give them a go, because there's something in something's not happening at this moment in time for Tony Clubb, and it might be, like you said, the duvet that he's got around his leg may be the problem, Matt.
If you just left that at home, it'd be a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that always comes up, even after the Toronto game, when we were talking, and Philip Tomlinson, who's been on the show a few times, was still, and he's adamant to the fact where he's properly adamant that Bevan French should be playing in the halves. I can't get my head to that. But Matt, where do you stand on that? Why would you change something that is clearly working at the minute?
That's exactly it. It is working. Leave it. We've got a good halfback combination. We've got We've got three good halfback combinations without needing to move French into the halves. So leave him at fullback. Diddle him about a bit if necessary during the game. Happy days.
We've got a comment here from Says Sean says switcheroo. It feels like we could invent like a Wigan Fan TV bingo where when we say certain things you can strike them off, and if we like complete a line or a house then we've got to do challenges. So every time you say Navarrete, something like that, along those lines. Every time Stu says, "Do you know what I mean?" Is he dead to you? I feel like we should potentially look at that. So Matthew, the man of predictions, as we sort of slowly get towards our prediction, we may as well get yours, just because if it's negative, it gives us time to build everybody back up. Bear in mind, so Hull beat Leeds, beat Hull KR in the derby, which is a fantastic game, and then lost to a kind of depleted St Helens side last week at home. They've got injuries. They've got doubts. I don't know if you know this, but they've got injuries. Similar to Castleford, they've got injuries. How do you see this week going?
Wigan win, and we win by, I think, 10 to 14 this weekend.
And is that simply because it's your birthday?
No, it's because I'm afraid that you'll ban me off the show if I say anything less. No, I think we will win. I think French is just, he loves it, doesn't he? He loves the limelight and he loves to show what he can do. And
but it's not on telly.
I just think he's going to score. Yeah, that's a good point, actually. But I think he's going to be top scorer this season in Super League. I think he'll have a good chance for Man of Steel as well.
Yeah. And
I think I can see him scoring 2 or 3 tries this weekend. He's my tip for man of the match as well.
Absolutely, everybody on here is shocked to learn that Hull have injuries, which they need more coverage for that. Matt, how do you see this game going on Sunday? Where will it be won and lost? And don't say on the pitch. And a score prediction from yourself.
I think we've got to match them in the forwards, haven't we? We've got to be more dominant for longer periods. And that's, bear in mind that I think which Hull player was it who said he knows what's going wrong with their side, they need to play for 80 minutes. Now, if Hull have already realised that you've got to play for 80 minutes, that means we've got to do the same too. So we've got to be dominant for that period of time. I think it was Jamie Shaw, might have been Shaw.
He seems like a bright bloke. Must be him.
Where's his moustache? I think if we can hammer their forwards hard enough, then I reckon we'll put about 18 points on them towards the end of the second half.
I just love the idea. I don't know why my mind's gone elsewhere now after the Jamie Shaw moustache. He shared it off last week and then they lost, so I can just see Jamie Shaw being this really superstitious person who'll just end up like buying a fake moustache just for the Wigan game. But I don't know. My mind's just gone elsewhere with that really. Where will the game be won and lost? Hull haven't just got a massive pack; they've got a flipping massive team. I mean, the wingers are big, let alone the props. This is a huge team. But Saints found a way around them. They've got Jake Connor playing in the halfbacks at the moment. They gave him number 6 jersey. They've given him an opportunity in there, and potentially it's not working quite well for him. I can hear myself there. I don't know whose headphones have just switched off. It's Matthew Melling with his dodgy headphones. His Bluetooth died. Look at him. He'll try and give them away in the competition next. But I feel like there's a lot of...
He's having a quick run.
Yeah. Oh, he's just getting the next packet out. Don't worry.
My batteries went on the other headset and the others in my pocket, so I've just changed them. They're already connected to it.
You'll be giving them away as a competition prize.
How many minutes did Gareth Ellis play against Saints?
I'm not too sure, but that's another thing, isn't it? Gareth Ellis, how old is he? 38-ish? 39-ish, and he was retired, come back, playing regularly for Hull. But I think there's a lot of...
That is not old by the standards of a maritime city, is it?
No, that's true.
If you think of in the Bible, Noah was over 400 when he bought the ark. I mean, oh no, he built it. He didn't even buy it. He built it, didn't he? Yeah,
absolutely.
And Gareth Ellis is basically Hull's Noah. I just hope he likes ham more than Israel does.
I mean,
so that was the perfect rugby league biblical joke. You will not get a better rugby league Bible joke than that.
No, absolutely. Ellis was injured, apparently.
On so many levels.
Ellis was injured. Gareth Ellis is apparently the same age as Ray French. There you go. So not quite Noah's age. I think that's older than Noah, actually. But the fact that you've managed to get that in as some sort of religious joke that you find hilarious is brilliant. Stanley Jean was 63 when he retires. So there you go. There's that. But my point was about Jake Connor. I think there's a lot of pressure on Jake Connor before we sort of went off into the Old Testament at some point there. There's a lot of pressure on Jake Connor. He knows that Albert Kelly's back next week, so there's a lot of pressure on him to perform. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. And I'm going for a Wigan victory of about 10 points. I'm going 14-4. I feel like it'll be a low-scoring game, and we'll manage to get through. Anything else from you guys before we wrap up the show? Matthew, anything coming up in terms of competitions that you would like to mention?
Oh yeah, I got a competition this week. 2 tickets for the Wigan and All game. From Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram on my page, the Wigan Runner, and we'll pick the winner 12 o'clock on Saturday for that one. So anyone can still enter that competition.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Matt, thank you very much for spending your evening with us rather than defeating viruses on your computer. I think that's your job to do now. And Matthew, sorry, go on.
Talking about defeating viruses,
yeah.
I am aware that, obviously a lot of Wigan supporters are very worried that they're going to be rubbing shoulders with people from Hull come Sunday. So what I've done is I've found some Hull facts to put Wiganers at their ease, because actually you don't have to wash after coming into contact with somebody from Hull. That's ridiculous.
Whilst the dog is interrupting, I'm going to just let the dog into the room so it doesn't interrupt this for you. Go for it.
So I've got loads of Hull facts. Amy Johnson was the first woman to fly solo from Britain to Australia, and she was from Hull, which gives you some idea of how eager people are to get away. The famous bounty from the Mutiny on the Bounty, that launched from Hull, which gives you some idea how eager people are not to go back to Hull. The Humber Bridge cost £150 million, right? And it took about 9 years to complete. So again, gives you some idea how eager people are to get away from Hull. Robinson attacked by from Hull on the 1st of September 1651, and then spent 28 years on a remote island near Trinidad. Again, shows you how eager people are not to return to Hull, even fictitious people. Hello, dog. Now, this is interesting. The George Hotel in Hull, right, has got England's smallest window in it, because obviously the view out of that window is Hull. The White Hart pub, one of my old student haunts, that was where the Civil War started, apparently. Some bloke walked in without a moustache, probably Jamie Shaw. This is also interesting. The world's biggest Yorkshire pudding factory is in Hull. I think it was called the City of Hull Academy until recently. J. Arthur Rank was from Hull. And I've got some other Hull-based euphemistic rhyming slang here too. Hull Truck, a team out of luck. Land of Green Ginger, Radford's a whinger. Hull Waterfront, Hull folk just grunt. Sammy's Point, penis. Albert Dock, Kelly's a rock. Brad Fash, just Brad Fash, isn't it?
You've properly lost me here, Matt. You properly lost me. But well done for calming the dog down.
I'm just enjoying watching your dog.
Yeah, you've calmed Lola down, so thank you.
Is that a dog or a wolf puppet?
This is she's a jack shit. She's a combination of a Jack Russell and a Shih Tzu, but yeah, it's a jack shit. So, let's end on that note. But What's on the screen at the minute is happy 40th Matthew Mellin for this weekend. Enjoy it, celebrate it, do what you do best, go out for a run. And one of your friends on here has promised you lots and lots of shots at the game on Sunday. So good luck with your run.
You don't need the shots to mix with Hull fans. You're fine.
Absolutely.
Clean.
Thank you for watching, everybody. Apologies for Matt's facts and apologies for the dog barking. But you know, what can we do about it? Guys, thank you for joining us, and see you all next week as we preview and review another Wigan victory. So see you all later.
See you guys.